Welcome into 76ers Now. Jake Chipper here with you. And coming up on today's show, Sixers off this week, don't play again until Friday. So I thought now would be a pretty good time to recap the season as a whole, go through the team's performance, go through some individual players' performances, and just going to talk about how this year has gone in general for the 76ers. About 20 or so games, almost a quarter of the way through the season. And before I give you my thoughts and we dive through some of these individual players and team stats as a whole, I want you guys to get down in the comment section. Obviously, you guys getting involved is a big part of the show. I want you to grade the Sixers so far this season, currently 13-10 on the year. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F down in the comment section, and feel free to explain your grade as well. So the Sixers, I mentioned, with that 13-10 record here early on this season, currently sit as the 7 seed in the Eastern Conference standings, ahead of any games here on Tuesday, December 9th, filming this before any of those in-season tournament games. And right in the thick of things, in the Eastern Conference, only one loss behind the Boston Celtics, who are currently the number 3 seed at 15-9, but also only one loss better than the Cavs and Hawks below them. And really, the Sixers have kind of been this kind of team the entire year. A very middle of the road, middle of the pack team who have beaten a lot of the teams below them and beat up on a lot of these bad under 500 teams, but do struggle for the most part to beat the top tier teams, those teams that are, at the top of the standings that are really getting things done right now. And that's backed up by the eye test, of course. Just watching this team play, a lot of inconsistencies. They can have really good moments. They can also struggle quite a bit at times. And when you look at their stats this season, really does reinforce that point, right? Really middle of the pack in a lot of these numbers, and even more than just some of these general numbers like points, field goal percentage, three-point percentage, opponent points per game, plus minus. These are all obviously middle of the pack here, but you dive deeper into some of the numbers, they really have been playing like about the 13th to 17th best team in the NBA this season, and I think that's a good reflection of where they are right now. Right around 117 points per game, 116 opponent points per game, right? 23rd in field goal percentage, 16th in three-point percentage, 17th in plus minus. So really a middle of the pack team. But look, when you consider where this team was at last season, when you consider still some of the injuries that they have had to deal with so far this season, and I'm not just talking about Paul George and Joel Embiid, but Kelly Oubre's missed a chunk of time, VJ Edgecombe missed some time, Trenton Watford has missed a whole lot of time, and other guys have missed some time here and there, even Quentin Grimes missing a game, right? I think you have to be pleased overall with what the Sixers have done this year. At least I'm pleased with what the Sixers have done this year. Not going to tell you how to feel, but, given what happened last year and how down it was all season long coming into this year, nobody really knew what to expect from the 76ers, right? They could have very easily, once again, been injured, been bad, won 20 games, and not had their pick. Would have been a disaster. But look, they're 3 games above 500. They were looking pretty good, especially before that loss to the Lakers. Of course, that was a very disappointing one on Sunday that I think the Sixers should have been able to win that game. But still, Sixers are on pace to win about 44 games based on their current winning percentage, a 44-38 record. That would be more than welcome, right, for a lot of Sixers fans, given what they went through last season. So, yes, there's been some ups where the team has looked really good. There's been some downs, especially in those third quarters. They have to figure out what's going on in these third quarters. But overall, I think it's been more good than bad for Philadelphia. Now, we can dive into some of these individual players and spend some more time on others. Obviously, Tyrese Maxey, what he's done this year is so special, and he is the reason that Philadelphia is where they're at right now, playing like a top 10 player in the league, really a top 5 player in the league at this point, an MVP candidate, raising his game even more than he has in the past, which is just phenomenal to see. A true leader, a true offensive engine, making tough shots, willing this team late in games. There's really not enough good things I can say about Tyrese Maxey that haven't been said already to this point. We know how special he is. Now, the one concern I would have is playing a ton of minutes. And we've already seen VJ Edgecombe deal some injuries, playing a bunch of minutes. We saw Kelly Oubre get injured, playing a bunch of minutes. So We're only in December. I would like to see those minutes come down a little bit, but he kind of has to play all those minutes because when he's not on the floor, Sixers aren't very good. If he can keep this up for a full season, the Sixers really can be a threat to beat anybody if Maxey's playing like a top 5 to top 10 player in the league. Joel Embiid, not quite the same optimism, obviously, when we talk about Maxey as when we talk about Joel Embiid. And look, it's been rough. Only played 9 games, has not been able to really find a rhythm and find a groove, which for a player like Embiid, he's talked about it so much, how important it is for him to be able to find that offensive flow and that offensive rhythm. But for the large part of the season, just has not looked like the same player. Now, there has been moments in individual games where you can see the flashes, right? You say, okay, that is the Joel Embiid of old, right? Hitting these patented shots in the mid-range. Not really getting to the basket quite as much, and the three-pointer certainly has not been there. And defensively, been a little bit inconsistent as well. There are certainly times where you watch Embiid and you're like, man, he's just getting blown by right now. But there's times I see him lock in. You can see him visually. His body language changes late in games where the Sixers need a big stop. He can do it, but he just can't do it for an extended period of time. Again, only played 9 games. It's a shame that he hasn't really been able to get out there and play consistently. Started the year hurt, came back, was starting to play well, got hurt again, and that hasn't been great since he returned. The Sixers really do need him if they have some serious championship aspirations, which I know sounds crazy talking about that right now with the Sixers, but if they do, Embiid has to be better than what he's playing right now. I'll always defend him. I still love Embiid, but the way he's playing right now, he's getting good looks. They're not falling. He has to be better. What is one word you would use to describe Joel Embiid's season so far? I would say frustrating because he hasn't been able to consistently be out there. And even in games, right, has certain stretches where early in games he looks good, late in games he doesn't. So I would say frustrating, but you let me know how you would describe Embiid's season so far. Let's get a little bit more on the positive side of things, though. And let's talk about VJ Edgecombe because, another bit of a interesting season for VJ. Obviously had that historic start, and we knew he was going to come down to earth a little bit after setting NBA records in his first few games. And yeah, the numbers have tailed off, and you could certainly say he's a little bit of a rookie wall. I mean, these numbers on your screen still look fantastic. 14, 4, and almost 6 rebounds a game while shooting pretty efficiently from the floor. Certainly has had his concerns finishing at the basket, but the three-point shot's been a lot better than we thought. The Sixers have cut his minutes a little bit from early in the year. He's playing a ton of minutes, dealt with a calf injury, missed a few games. Now, not quite getting as many looks or as many touches and as many minutes as he was early on. Might be hitting a little bit of a rookie wall, but I think late in games, he has still been phenomenal. The clutch factor VJ Edgecombe has is phenomenal to see for a player that young. The athleticism still pops, right? Him and Tyrese Maxey is still such a fun backcourt to watch. And I think over the course of the year, he's the kind of player that, hitting this wall now, but getting better slowly over the course of the season. I still love what I've seen from VJ Edgecombe over the past couple of weeks since he returned from injury. Even if the numbers don't look all that great, I see him out there still playing hard and still making an impact on the game, even if the shots aren't falling. He's a rookie at the end of the day, right? And I still think he should be up there in terms of the Rookie of the Year conversations. Now, there's plenty more to get to, still plenty of players and plenty of aspects of this team that we need to touch on here for Philadelphia. But before we do, I want to give a quick shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that is DraftKings. We're only a few weeks in, and the NBA season is already wild. Stars are going off, rookies are making noise, and the action doesn't stop. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is where you can get in on all of it. Missouri listeners, listen up. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me State. New customers, bet just $5 and get $200 if your bet wins, paid in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code SixersChat. That's code SixersChat, bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Pass-through of per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. Additional terms at dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Some NBA Cup action here tonight on this Tuesday, December 9th. We got Magic versus Heat. We got Knicks versus Raptors in the Eastern Conference. Put together a little parlay here. 4 different players, all to score some points, plus 1,008 odds. So a $100 bet would win you $1,000 if this does smack. Paolo Banchero, 20-plus points. Bam Adebayo, 19-plus points. Jalen Brunson, 30-plus points. And Scotty Barnes, 20-plus points. It's a big-time games, right? Players want to win these NBA Cup games. Of course, odds and lines subject to change. Shout out to DraftKings for sponsoring today's show. All right, let's get now to Quentin Grimes is who I want to talk about next here, because I think Grimes has been phenomenal this season. The numbers look great. I believe still leading the NBA in scoring off the bench at 16.5 points per game, shooting just over 37% from three. He's really picked up where he left off, right? Now, not putting up the 20-plus points per game he was last year. Obviously, a different role at the end of last season than what he has this year. But look, coming off the bench, playing well for this team, doing it on both sides of the ball. Now, guarding someone like LeBron James on Sunday obviously didn't go very well for Quentin Grimes, but he makes an impact with his two-way play. And offensively, there were some concerns, coming into the year if what he showed last year, especially the scoring off the dribble and scoring with the ball in his hands, was just because it was late in the year, playing a lot of bad teams. He was the only guy that could really score for Philadelphia. Could that translate to the season into winning games? And it really has, right? He betted on himself with the qualifying offer. I think he's going to make himself some pretty good money. And if I'm the Sixers, I'd be open to keep him because he fits really, really well as that first guard off the bench. And he can play with Maxey and VJ at the same time, all three of them with these three-guard lineups. Love what I've seen out of Grimes and hope he can keep it up. And again, he'll be making himself some pretty good money if he does. Let's talk about Paul George, right? Obviously, talked about Embiid earlier. Now I want to get to PG, who, similar to Embiid, he's had his moments, right? He's had times this season. I think about that Milwaukee Bucks game in particular. Really both of the times the Sixers have played the Milwaukee Bucks, he's been pretty good. But again, only played 8 games on the season. Numbers obviously don't look fantastic. I think at times he's not getting quite as many looks as I'd want him to, and still dealing with injuries, not playing every single night. I've been pretty impressed, though, defensively with what Paul George has been able to do so far this season. And look, I know he's making all the money, and we want Paul George to be out there and really live up to the contract. Fact of the matter is, Paul George is not going to live up to the deal at this point, right? He's just not the player that the Sixers thought that they were getting. But I think the role he can play for this team, if he can continue to hit shots at a higher clip right now than he is from behind the arc in particular, I think he's done some better things off the dribble and generally looks healthier than he did last year this season and play some good defense. Also did struggle at times to guard LeBron James, but, it is LeBron at the end of the day. I do think he can make a big impact for this team, can Paul George. But again, how many minutes can he play? Can he stay healthy? Can he string together some consistent performances to be able to do that? That remains to be seen. So I'm kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out on Paul George right now. I like what he's done, but certainly would like to see him be more consistent and be a little bit better here moving forward, especially while Kelly Oubre does still remain out. Now, of course, Kelly Oubre is supposed to be getting reevaluated this week after suffering that knee injury, so we'll see when he does return. I think Philadelphia is really missing Kelly Oubre right now. An underrated loss that none of the people are talking about. He was really having a career year before he went down with that knee injury. And not just offensively, but defensively too. Now, the offense was phenomenal. The three-point percentage was dropping a little bit. He was shooting near 40% at one point. You had to figure that was going to come down, given he's not a great career three-point shooter. But just watching Oubre play, I was very encouraged by what I was seeing, because sometimes Kelly Oubre can try to do a little too much, right? And not play within himself, within the system. Just kind of looks like not that he doesn't know what he's doing out there, but he's playing a little too fast or playing a little out of control or trying to do too much, like I said before. I think this year he had really settled in to the perfect role for this team. After all the trade rumors all offseason long, he had been looking a lot better. Then, of course, he goes down with the injury, and Sixers have struggled, especially defensively, without him being on the floor. They could really use his defense, his point of attack defense. He makes plays on the defensive end of the floor as well. The energy he brings is obvious. So I really like what Oubre's done this season. I think the best year of his career. Philadelphia definitely really, really misses him. And I hope he gets back out there on the floor sooner rather than later, because, again, what he's been able to do on both sides of the ball, impacting for this team, is so important. And I think very underrated for this Sixers team this season. Still a little bit more to get to. want to talk about this forward rotation, this backup center rotation as well. But real quick, you want to give me a follow over on social media, on Instagram at 76ers Now IG, on Twitter, my personal Twitter page at Jake Chipper. Always talking ball, always talking Sixers over there. You give me a follow, I'll give you a follow back. Again, at 76ers Now IG on Instagram, at Jake Chipper on Twitter. Go ahead and give me a follow. Let's get to Jared McCain next. Started off the year really, really rough, right? McCain, as he was coming off the injuries, again, injuries plural, with having to deal with the thumb injury and obviously coming off the meniscus, it was a slow start. But he's picked it back up as of late now. Didn't play a whole lot, especially in the second half in that Lakers game. Not a great defensive matchup for him, what Nick Nurse said, but the threes are starting to fall at a little bit of a higher rate. You're starting to see a little bit more with McCain off the dribble, but I think there still is a lot more there to be desired. But again, man, like for somebody like McCain coming off the major knee injury, then dealing with a thumb injury in his shooting hand, it was going to take him some time to get back into things. Not quite showing what he was last year, where he was probably going to be the rookie of the year if he didn't end up getting injured. But the Sixers really could use his off-the-dribble scoring to return to the level it was last season, where able to get through him a little bit. He's done more attacking the basket, hasn't really been able to finish at the highest of levels. But again, that outside shot is starting to fall, which is very, very encouraging. And he's another guy, like, we talk about some players on this team, you do project him to continue to get better as the year goes on, again, hoping that he's able to stay healthy for the duration of the year. Let's get to this backup big man rotation, right? Andre Drummond, Adem Bona, backing up Joel Embiid, clearly, an important position given the health concerns with Embiid. Drummond's been great, man. Drummond has been fantastic all season long. Has moments where I think defensively, someone out of position just can't quite keep up. But as a whole, he's filled in really, really nicely. I was someone in the offseason saying that maybe they should trade Andre Drummond. He's made me eat those words. He's been fantastic. Adem Bona has been a little bit more inconsistent. The 1.5 blocks per game is great. He makes some flash plays defensively, but there's still a long ways to go with him and his instincts out there on the floor. I was kind of hoping he'd be a little bit farther along at this point in his career, but, that's all right. Still a young player. Was a second-round pick just a year ago. He still has plenty of time to figure it out. And, shout out to Drummond for filling in as he has, allowing Bona to not have to play big-time minutes while Embiid does not play. And this forward rotation, really one of the strengths of this team. Now, Trent Watford, unfortunately, has been dealing with injuries all season long. When he's been in there, he's looked really good, right? As that big forward who can handle the ball, run pick and roll, his passing ability, it was super underrated. It's been a tremendous asset of his for the Sixers. Obviously, good buddies with Tyrese Maxey, who's talked glowingly about Watford. A shame we haven't really been able to see him so much this season, because he really would add another dynamic element to this offense. But, man, Jabari Walker, especially over the last few games, Jabari Walker has been really up in his game, hitting his three-point shots as well. That game, I think it was against Milwaukee, where he hit his first four three-pointers of the game. And obviously the tenacity he brings, the rebounding he brings, the numbers don't do him justice. And Dominic Barlow as well. I don't think these numbers, these are good numbers for Barlow here, 8 and 5.5, do him justice either. He's hitting his three at a pretty decent clip. He has been so important for the Sixers team in rebounding the basketball, playing defense, making smart cuts, hustle plays. So all of these guys, which, look, we said in the offseason, these are all going to be important additions. That's all proven to be true. Just really want to get Watford back out there on the floor, because I think he can really open up this offense even more than it already is. And then I want to end off talking here about Nick Nurse, right? Nurse is an interesting case. I was very happy when he got hired. And I think for the most part, Nurse has done a very good job with this team so far this season, right? A lot of times, especially early in games, Sixers come out strong. The offense looks good. They're running good sets. But the third quarter issues have to be an indictment on Nick Nurse. I don't know why it's been an issue all season long, where every third quarter the Sixers are just blowing these leads and getting outscored by 10, 15, 20 points every third quarter, and then forcing themselves to come back in the fourth, which, credit to Nurse, they've been able to come back in the fourth quarter, but you can't rely on that all season long. And then late in games, I think the offense has been clunky at times. They're not really running a whole lot of good actions late in these games. A lot of times it's just isolation with Tyrese Maxey, which has worked a lot of the time, but, you also can't just rely on that all season long. So I would generally say I like what Nick Nurse has done so far this season, but I've been a little bit disappointed in times. So I would like to see this team really fix their third quarter issues and find some more reliable offense at the end of games other than just Maxey try to score or Embiid try to score. Run some sets, run some plays like you do earlier in the game because I think those ones do look good. Before you get out of here, let me know and be honest with me. The way the Sixers team is currently constructed, the way they're playing right now, do you think they can win a playoff series in the East? Give me a yes, give me a no. Sound off what you think down there in the comments section. And as always, do not forget to hit that sub button for year-round coverage of your 76ers news, rumors, analysis, trade rumors are going to start heating up here in the next month or so. Stay up to date on everything going on with the Sixers. Hit that sub button, and we'll see you next time right here on 76ers Now.